First, I want to take a moment for the Bernie bros. As we see, Bernie Sanders endorsed Biden again. He was against the establishment until they paid him. All right, they got what they had coming. Anyway, all right, so today we got Bill Barr. He is back out talking about it. Durham possibly has some subpoenas. I think things are happening. Let's get to the video. Yo, welcome back, Trey Trumpy McTrumpface. Hey, I was putting together this video. I was trying to make it short and sweet, but Trump had to go out today in front of the press and force them to watch their own words, making a fool of them and what their narrative is today. All right, so let's check this out. This is great stuff. We picked a winner, guys.
In 5 years, when I'm not here, those papers are all going out of business because nobody's going to want to read them. But now they like them because they write about me. Now, with that, I have a couple of interesting. We have a few clips that we're just going to put up. We could turn the lights a little bit lower. I think you'll find them interesting, and then we'll answer some questions. I'll ask you some questions because you're so guilty, but forget it. But most importantly, we're going to get back onto the reason we're here, which is the success we're having. Okay? Please, you could put it on. Thank you.
People should be more concerned right now with the flu in this country.
A lot of people are concerned about the coronavirus because they're hearing a lot of news about it right now. But the reality is, comparing it to the flu, for example, it's not even close to being at that stage.
What if it is worse? Is this a moment where maybe countries put politics aside, a little bit of pride aside, and do we have U.S. officials? Should U.S. professionals such as yourself get involved?
How worried should Americans be about coronavirus?
Coronavirus is not going to cause a major issue in the United States.
Well, we've asked them to accelerate whatever they're doing in terms of a vaccine.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days.
To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency. Medicare patients can now visit any doctor by phone or video conference at no additional cost.
The first 1 million masks will be available immediately.
As there were more cases, and it was clear that it was spreading out of China, where it originated, the president took this move that he was widely criticized for by Democrats and even some Republicans at the time, which was he halted a number of flights from China into the U.S. The idea was to halt the spread of the disease, keep transmissions to a minimum. He was accused of xenophobia. He was accused of making a racist move. At the end of the day, it was probably effective because it did actually take a pretty aggressive measure against the spread of the virus.
His team is on it. They've been responsive late at night, early in the morning, and they've thus far been doing everything that they can do, and I want to say thank you, and I want to say that I appreciate it.
He returns calls. He reaches out. He's been proactive. We got that Mercy ship down here in Los Angeles. That was directly because he sent it down here. 2,000 medical units came to the state of California, these FMS, these field medical stations. And that's been very, very helpful.
The president has been outstanding through all this. The vice president's been outstanding. Members of the coronavirus task force, very responsive.
We had asked if we could have, New Jersey could have access to a piece of the beds that are on the USNS Comfort, and the president came back, called me a short few minutes before I walked in here to say indeed they would grant that to New Jersey. So that's a big step for us in addition to all the other capacity. That news is literally hot off the press. And I thank the president and vice president who are on the call together.
President Trump approved Arizona's request for a presidential major disaster declaration. I want to thank the president for a quick turnaround. We requested this on a Wednesday, and we had approval by Saturday morning. And we are grateful to the administration for their continued support and responsiveness.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the president and the vice president for doing a really good job of communicating with all the governors.
So we could give you hundreds of clips like that from governors, including Democratic, or Democrat as I call them, governors, which is actually the correct term. We could give you hundreds of clips just like that. We have them. We didn't want this to go on too long, but I just want to say it's, it's very sad when people write false stories like, in that case, I guess it was gotten mostly from the New York Times, which is a highly, if you had libel laws, they would have been out of business even before they'll end up going out of business. So it's too bad. But we could have given, Absolutely. You saw the statements.
But first of all, I want to do a side note. Let's talk about reason number 4 billion, whatever, that Donald Trump is different than all of those other people. Politics is a disgusting, disgusting place. Look at how those people all have to suck up to Donald Trump because they need something. Gavin Newsom, you might as well put a knife against his throat to make him say those things. But you know what's just as bad as a knife? A bunch of money, keeping losing the constituents because he's playing politics when he shouldn't be. So he's forced to. But the reason Donald Trump is so much different is because he was able to go straight from business to the president. He did not have to do any of that web building of corruption that goes on in Washington, D.C. And that's why he's an outsider. That's why these people hate him. And that's why this whole Spygate started. And that's what we're moving into next. So AG Barr went on, I just forgot her name. Ingram. Thank you. Laura Ingram show. And had some interesting things to say. So it's all about Spygate. That's the big thing that's going on right now. Things are happening, it seems like.
Tell us about the state of John Durham's investigation. People have been waiting for the final report on what happened with this. What can you tell us?
Well, I think a report, may be and probably will be a byproduct of his activity, but his primary focus isn't to prepare a report. He is looking to bring to justice people who were engaged in abuses if he can show that they were criminal violations, and that's what the focus is on. And as you know, being a lawyer yourself, building these cases, especially the sprawling case we have between us that went on for 2 or 3 years here, it takes some time. It takes some time to build the case. So he's diligently pursuing it. My own view is that the evidence shows that we're not dealing with just mistakes or sloppiness. There was something far more troubling here, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. And if people broke the law, and we can establish that with the evidence, they will be prosecuted.
The president is very frustrated. I think you obviously know that about Andrew McCabe. He believes that people like McCabe and others just were able to basically flout laws, and so far with impunity.
I think the president has every right to be frustrated, because I think what happened to him was one of the greatest travesties in American history. Without any basis, they started this investigation of his campaign. And even more concerning, actually, is what happened after the campaign, a whole pattern of events while he was president. To sabotage the presidency, and I think that, or at least had the effect of sabotaging the presidency.
Will FISA abuses really be prevented going forward, given what happened here, where FISA judges are not given critical pieces of information, material facts about evidence that inform the government's okaying the surveillance of American citizens?
I think it's possible to put in a regime that would make it very hard either to willfully circumvent FISA or to do so sloppily without due regard for the rights of the American person involved, and also to make it very clear that any misconduct will be discovered, and discovered fairly promptly. So I do think we can put in safeguards that will enable us to go forward with this important tool. I think it's very sad, and the people who abused FISA have a lot to answer for, because this was an important tool to protect the American people. They abused it. They undercut public confidence in FISA, but also the FBI as an institution, and we have to rebuild that.
Fear
All right, say it with
raises
me. Why,
your cortisol levels.
Why did they do that? Because they thought she would never lose. Those people were just sucking up to Hillary Clinton, trying to make sure that she won and they'd be able to be the next in her cabinet. That is the disgusting nature of politics in Washington, D.C., and that's what I'm talking about, that we were able to vote on a person who was not intertwined in that disgusting behavior. What's gone on since then? Barr went on Laura Ingram's show last week's on Friday. John Solomon called the Hannity show and basically told Hannity on air that he is seeing subpoenas and grand juries and witnesses being summoned to go to grand juries and testify. And this is the right step for tribunals and court and go into trial, and the big things are starting to happen. So it might be under the cover of Corona. I'm not sure. It might just be somehow working together. But the time is running out. The report's coming due, or what we're calling a report. But that man just said that would be a byproduct, because that's not what they're after. They're after the bad guys. All right, guys. See you next time.
What shows everyone else?